On a warehouse planet nobody cared about, an assassin took one shot at one priest. He missed. It is the only shot he will ever miss. Because of it, 14 million people die, and it takes 17 years. This is the Siege of Vraks. Nobody involved is having a good time. The Imperium of Man rules 1,000,000 worlds and does almost nothing well. It is enormous, ancient, and run entirely by clerks. Vraks is one of its ammunition dumps, a grey rock covered in bunkers, holding enough guns and shells to arm dozens of armies. It is not a place, it is a shelf. In 813 of the 41st millennium, a priest takes that shelf hostage, and the Imperium decides it would rather spend 17 years and 14 million lives than let him keep it. By the end of this, you will understand why they still filed that as a victory. Meet Cardinal Xaphan. Xaphan is the ecclesiarchy's man on Vraks, and his job is to keep several million laborers grateful while they stack crates in the dark. Vraks has no scenery, no exports, and no purpose beyond storage. Its people exist to move boxes for wars happening somewhere else, forever. He is unusually good at it, too good. He preaches to the workers, and the workers love him, because he is the first person in 9 generations to suggest that their lives might matter. This is the mistake. In the Imperium, hope is a controlled substance. The Ordo Hereticus notices that one priest now owns the loyalty of an entire armory world. They do not arrest him. Arresting him would cause a riot. Instead, they send a single Vindicare assassin, the finest marksman the Imperium produces, to remove the problem quietly. He does not remove the problem quietly. The shot fails. Xaphan lives, and now several million workers know as a fact that the government tried to murder the one man who was ever kind to them. Vraks rises within a week. The Arbites are butchered. The administratum is pulled down. The Sisters of Battle in the central citadel are overwhelmed and dragged into its dungeons. Hold that thought. Xaphan now holds the largest arsenal in the sector and roughly 5 million armed believers. The imperial response takes months, because the news must pass through the Departamento Munitorum, then Segmentum Command, then the General Staff, each of which files it, loses it, and finds it again. There is an obvious solution here. Vraks is one planet. The Imperium owns ships that can boil a world from orbit. They will not do it. The entire point of Vraks is the guns inside it, and you cannot requisition a crater. The armory has to be taken intact, by hand, room by room. So they call Krieg. The Death Corps of Krieg are the Imperium's siege specialists. Their homeworld rebelled centuries ago, and their own loyalists ended that rebellion by detonating atomics on their own soil. Krieg has been a radioactive ruin ever since. Its people have been apologizing ever since, too. They ship out in enormous numbers, they wear gas masks so you never see a face, and they do not retreat, because retreat is not in the doctrine. A Krieg trooper is issued a rifle, a gas mask, a shovel, and a life expectancy measured in weeks. The shovel is the important one. More than 30 of these regiments are bundled together and called the 88th Siege Army. You are in the first wave. There are 500,000 of you. You walk upright, across open ground, into minefields and fixed guns for 2 days. This is not a blunder. This is the plan. The plan is that there are more of you than there are shells. The plan works. Slowly, horrifically. The Krieg take the outer trenches, then Fort A453. Then a counterattack takes all of it back. Then they take it again. And then the war stops moving. For 7 years, 2 armies shove each other across a few kilometers of poisoned mud, killing millions, and the map does not change. Nobody at home hears about it, because there is no home. Krieg regiments are not rotated out. They are used until they are gone. There is no medal for this. There is no leave. There is a number, and when the number reaches 0, the regiment is struck off the list, and another is raised to replace it. 9 years in, The Krieg finally break the second defensive line. The rebels are finished. The war is effectively over. It is at this point that the war actually begins, because Xaphan's allies have been making calls. The Alpha Legion arrives first. Traitor space marines who specialize in being somewhere you did not check. Their warlord, Arcos, lands on the far side of the planet, and nobody notices for a while. Then the Dark Angels turn up, uninvited. Half the chapter, led by their Grand Master personally. Officially, they are helping. Unofficially, the Dark Angels are looking for something on Vraks and will not say what. They still have not said what. Then Arcos screams into the warp, and everyone who hates the Imperium answers. 30 warships arrive. The Imperial fleet loses the sky, and the sky is where the Krieg have been getting their food. What lands next is not an army. It is a queue of grievances. World Eaters, who kill for a god that only counts skulls. Death Guard, who release a chemical that eats through Krieg gas masks, which had been the one piece of equipment that worked. Iron Warriors, Black Legion, Traitor Titans, hundreds of thousands of cultists. The Imperial commander is dismissed and replaced, which is the Imperium's version of an apology. Now it stops being a war and becomes weather. Krieg engineers start tunneling under the enemy lines, so both sides fight underground, in the dark, with shovels. You are down there. You will not see the sky again. Above ground it gets worse. The Imperium starts renting space marines. The Red Scorpions punch a breach and immediately leave, because they have other appointments. 150 Red Hunters drop straight into a trap outside the citadel and are killed to the last man, and the Krieg nearby cannot reach them because the smoke is too thick to see. 2 more Krieg regiments die trying anyway, then the attack is called off. Meanwhile, on the traitor side, a Khorne warlord named Zhufor decides he is bored of Xaphan. He storms the palace, massacres the court, and throws the cardinal into his own dungeon. Then he tells absolutely nobody. For years afterwards, millions of rebels keep fighting and dying for a holy leader who is a prisoner beneath their feet. They never find out. The Inquisition eventually takes the whole thing over. Lord Inquisitor Hector Rex arrives with Grey Knights, personally kills a greater demon in single combat, and the citadel falls in 830. 17 years. The Imperium has won. Here is what it won. Cardinal Xaphan is found alive in his cell, transformed into a chaos spawn, a wet, screaming thing with no memory of having been a person. The Sisters of Battle are found in the dungeon below him. They have been there 18 years. None of them will speak again. Zhufor escapes through a warp rift with everything he came for, and the armory, the guns, the shells, the entire reason for the war has been fired. Both sides spent 17 years shooting Vraks at itself. The shelf is empty. The planet is so saturated with chaos that the Inquisition quarantines it. Nobody may land. Nobody may leave. Vraks is a dead rock, held by no one, worth nothing. 14 million men of Krieg died taking it back. Nobody planted a flag. There was nothing left to plant it in. Here is the part that should bother you. Nobody in the Imperium records this as a failure. The world was returned to Imperial control. The heretic was destroyed. The file closes cleanly. The Imperium cannot afford to notice the difference between winning and surviving. Because if it ever did, it would have to admit that 10,000 years of this has bought it nothing except another year. It is a machine that mistakes its own exhaust for progress, so it approves the report. It raises new Krieg regiments. And somewhere right now, on a planet you have never heard of, a clerk is signing off the next one.